A gift with no name. Hook. The billionaire CEO collapsed to her knees, sobbing beside the hospital bed of the unconscious man she had never met. Doctors, nurses, even security, froze as she whispered the 6 words that stunned everyone. He saved me, but I destroyed him. No one understood why a woman worth billions, a woman notorious for firing executives without blinking, was shaking like a terrified child, her hand hovering above the single father's bandaged abdomen. But before she could confess the real reason she was there, before anyone could stop her, she leaned in, and said something so shocking the room fell completely silent. And that secret, the one she revealed in a trembling whisper, is the reason this story may change how you see kindness forever. Before we go further, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles. This is one story you'll remember for the rest of your life. Now, let's begin where everything truly started. Ethan Miller never woke up early on his days off. Between running Miller Auto Repair out of an old brick building in Dayton, Ohio, and raising his 8-year-old son, Caleb, alone, sleep was the rarest luxury in his life. But he didn't hesitate for a second when the phone call came at dawn. "Sir, you're the only confirmed match. It's urgent. A kidney match. For a stranger." Ethan didn't know her name. The hospital refused to disclose details. All they told him was she was critical, and that the donor list had failed her. Everyone had. Except him. He could have asked questions. He could have said no. He could have thought of the risks, the recovery time, the money he'd lose from missing work. But all he thought about was the woman he'd lost 3 years earlier. Sarah. Sarah, whose kidneys had given up long before anyone could save her. Sarah, who begged Ethan not to blame himself for the bills, the specialists, the nights he'd slept in hospital chairs. Sarah, who left behind a boy too young to understand why mommy stopped waking up. Ethan had carried the guilt like 1,000 pounds of invisible weight. Maybe this was how he finally honored her. Maybe this was how he finally forgave himself. So he said yes. Caleb sat beside him in the hospital hallway, legs swinging off the chair, backpack in his lap. The boy looked so much like his mother, same soft brown eyes, same quiet strength, that it hurt sometimes. "Dad?" Caleb whispered. "Is it gonna hurt?" Ethan ruffled his son's hair gently. "Not for long. And it'll help someone who really needs it." Caleb nodded slowly, like he wanted to be brave for his dad. "Then I'm proud of you." That nearly broke Ethan. As he was taken toward pre-op, a strange calm washed over him, not peaceful exactly, but focused. If he could give someone a chance Sarah never had, then maybe the world still made sense. He didn't know that on another floor of that same hospital, someone else was also preparing for surgery, someone whose life was known by millions, but whose heart was known by no one. Charlotte Hayes, CEO of Hayes Global, was used to controlling everything: markets, boardrooms, mergers, even her image. But she couldn't control her kidneys. Couldn't control the cold fear climbing her spine. Couldn't control the loneliness that felt like it was drowning her. She had built an empire on precision and distance, never letting anyone close enough to hurt her. Her parents had abandoned her early. Her fortune had come from brilliance and ruthlessness. And every year she'd built another wall, another moat, another reason for people to fear her. Now she had no one to hold her hand. No one to reassure her. No one who would care if she never woke up. Except someone, some stranger, had volunteered to save her life with no compensation, no recognition, no demands. That baffled her. "Who is he?" she asked her physician. He requested anonymity. Why would anyone give a part of themselves to someone they don't know? The doctor smiled sadly. Some people just believe in kindness. Kindness. A foreign language to her. As she was wheeled toward surgery, a single, uncharacteristic tear slid down her face. She didn't know it yet, but her life was about to change in ways her billions could never have predicted. And so was his. The surgery went smoothly. The kidney took. The medical team whispered the word miracle more than once. But Ethan, the donor, didn't wake up. A complication, a sudden drop in blood pressure. A dangerous reaction to anesthesia. A tremor in his heart rhythm. Hours after the surgery was supposed to be over, he lay unconscious, hooked to monitors, the steady beeping a thin promise that he was still alive. Charlotte woke 2 floors above him, disoriented, groggy, confused. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then she saw the empty chair beside her. No one waiting. No one checking on her. No one celebrating that she'd survived. She stared at the ceiling, tears forming again. Her assistant entered quietly. "Ms. Hayes, your donor, there were complications." The words felt like ice in her veins. "Complications?" she whispered. "Is he?" "He's alive," the assistant said quickly. "But still unconscious." Charlotte gripped the sheets, breath trembling. This stranger had given her life. And she might have taken his. "What's his name?" she demanded. He asked to remain anonymous. Charlotte sat up, ignoring the pain. "I don't care what he asked for. Take me to him." Minutes later, supported by a nurse, Charlotte entered Ethan's hospital room. She didn't know what she expected, perhaps an old man, or a drifter, or someone who needed money so desperately that donating a kidney seemed like a solution. Her assumptions twisted tighter when she saw him. A young man. Handsome. Pale. Alone except for a boy curled beside his bed, fast asleep with his head on his father's arm. A single father. And because of her, he might never wake up to see that child again. Her breath caught. For the first time in her life, Charlotte Hayes, billionaire titan, feared negotiator, felt true, suffocating guilt. She whispered, "What have I done?" And that is where everything truly begins. The billionaire and the mechanic. Charlotte returned to Ethan's room every day. Every morning she woke with the same dread. What if he never opened his eyes? What if she had stolen a boy's father? What if the one person who had ever helped her without asking for anything in return died because of her? The nurses whispered about the mysterious woman who sat by the donor's bedside for hours. Security tried to escort her out twice before discovering who she was. But she didn't care about her reputation. Not anymore. She brought Caleb breakfast every morning, though she pretended it was extra food from her tray. She read him stories when his aunt had to work late. She helped him with homework from his wrinkled math packet. The boy didn't know who she was. To him, she was just Miss Charlotte. And she liked it that way. But the more she saw him, the more she saw what she never had. Warmth. Love. A parent who put their child first. One night, when the hospital hallways were dim and quiet, Charlotte sat beside Ethan's bed and whispered, "You don't know me. You don't know what you've saved. Or what you've cost. But I swear, if you wake up, I will make your sacrifice mean something." And as if he'd been waiting for those words. Ethan's fingers twitched. He woke 3 days later. The first thing he saw was Caleb sobbing in his arms. The second was a woman standing in the doorway, her arms crossed tightly, as if holding herself together. A woman he didn't recognize. "Who?" he croaked. Caleb looked up. "Dad. Dad, this is Miss Charlotte. She helped me while you were asleep." Charlotte stepped forward slowly. "Mr. Miller. I'm Charlotte Hayes. I'm the recipient of your kidney." Ethan blinked at her, confused. "Hayes, as in Hayes Global?" She nodded. He stared at her. The woman he'd saved. The stranger he'd given a piece of himself to. Was one of the wealthiest women in the country. "You're kidding," he muttered. I wish I were.